Can you feel ass slipping down your ass? Oh, looks like you came back for ass. Yeah, can you feel? All right, sorry. Welcome to the Double D Experience. Sometimes fucked up, but always really fucked up. Because Dennis just told me about that scene from Invincible that got cut that apparently was not in season 2, but that's for next week for us to talk about. This week, we have some real breaking news that actually changed something inside of me. For you avid listeners of the Double D Experience, you'll remember a couple of episodes ago when we got some teasers for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that I wasn't that excited yet. That I knew everything that Sega was going to do. I wasn't hyped for the Sonic Time Shadow Generations thing. I saw that. I know what the third movie's about. It's about Sonic Adventure 2, and they were going to dub it the Year of Shadow, which just a few days ago, Sega fucking did. They let it, I called it from a mile away. It was very, very obvious. They're doing a tour around the nation, dragging his motorcycle from that dog shit game all around the place everywhere. Shout out to Shadow the Hedgehog. I love that game. But now the hype has finally hit me. For the one particular reason of the one piece of news that has come out, in that Neo, Mr. Keanu Reeves,
Mr. Juan Wick,
has been cast as Shadow the Hedgehog. And what gets my goat about it the most isn't
wait,
just...
let's just clap for a bit. Let's fine, let's clap. For the studio and for whoever decided on doing that, because I said John Bernthal. Which I still think would have been actually not so bad either. But getting Keanu, fucking perfect. And it kind of does make me, not like, I guess, regret my choice, because like for John Bernthal, but more so just like, I just didn't even have Keanu on my radar. Because like, I even just thought like, for someone like Keanu, like this would kind of be like just not something that he'd be into. But I mean, I forget that we had Jim Carrey come back and even say, I'm coming back for this movie. And then not to even mention Idris Elba, another fucking amazing A-lister that we all know.
That was the big announcement for Sonic 2. I remember when they dropped that teaser. Just he tweeted like Knuckles' fists, and that was how they announced that like Idris was going to be Knuckles, which was also perfect casting. Yeah, truly.
Like it does why like it just kind of makes me like feel kind of stupid that like, okay, like Keanu wasn't even on my radar, because like, I mean, you know, we've seen like obviously Keanu like do like, because he's like, you know, I think honestly he's to me a better action star than even Tom Cruise, just because like I feel as if like he almost, I think it's like the way he carries himself is just so just charismatic, and like just you like every time you see him, like you just like
he's one of the most beloved celebrities of our time. Yeah, easily one of our most beloved celebrities of our time, because he comes off as way more down to earth in
genuine,
like his private interactions and whatnot. He did that thing where like when he's around like women fans and whatnot, he doesn't put his hand on them. He puts his hand like over their shoulders and shit. Not just for his comfort, but also for the fact that he doesn't want some like, you know, starfucker like Ethot or whatever to like come through and be like, oh, Keanu touched me in this way, look. At least that's what the internet made it out to be, and who knows, the internet gets a million things wrong. But point is, he's also respectful to them in that way. Yeah, like through his actual private interactions and his interviews, that's how he seems to go. And obviously we don't know these celebrities as people, but like at a certain point we have to trust our own intuition about some of these things and whatnot. And Keanu definitely just comes off of that way, as well as even in the roles he takes. He kind of comes off as like a pseudo Nicolas Cage, in that this fucker will do anything, and he'll put his spin on it, and it'll do it right. And I'm in the same boat as you, Dennis, in the fact that like the reason it got me, and this is the first thing that actually made me hype towards the movie, because before I wasn't hype, because I knew it was going to happen. It felt very member berries. I'm like, blah, 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 Year of Shadow. We already called it and everything. But when they dropped this announcement, they caught me off guard at a time that I really genuinely thought they couldn't, because I was in the exact same boat, Dennis. I'm so mad at myself that I didn't see this coming. I'm so angry that I didn't see this coming. Like that, like they announced it. I never suspected or like considered Keanu for a second. And now that I know it exists, it's perfect.
You feel kind of, foresight, like, you know, hindsight is 2020 for sure. But like, it's like the fact that we didn't even think of him is like insane to me too. Like, it just, Because, like, I mean, I said John Bernthal, which, again, I still stand by. Probably wouldn't have been a bad choice either.
Not at all, no.
But, like, but Keanu is just, like, it's like, when someone says an answer, and it's like, it didn't seem right, but it is right. But, like, we didn't even think about it at all. Like, in Keanu's case, it's just like, it is perfect, really. Like, just even thinking about it for 5 seconds, it's just like, he is perfect for that role. Like, absolutely perfect. And like, for me, it's just like, we've just seen him do roles like this before. The Avenger, like, like the guy who seeks revenge, and even just like a badass with a gun. Shadow is all those things. Literally all those things.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. He's definitely like the Avenger in that sense, even though he doesn't necessarily mean to be. So it's perfect, honestly. Nothing. I feel like you ever have some of those moments where like you feel like you could gush forever?
Yeah.
But you're also just kind of speechless at the same time, because that's how I'm feeling right now. I feel like I should be able to go off about this forever, but I don't have that much else to necessarily say about it. Just like, kudos. This perfect casting. I don't know what else to say. Like, he fits that like bad boy edge, a little bit of that comic size, and the fact that he did everything he did for his dog in the John Wick movies. Borderline invincible because he has like the bullet suit or whatever it is in John Wick that literally makes him impervious to bullets. So he just runs around that movie going like fucking and Shadow's kind of the same way when he gets his rage in like Shadow the Hedgehog. So that works.
Can't catch him because of chaos control.
No.
Just like.
And of course, you remember that part in John Wick 3, spoilers, forgive me guys for spoilers, the part where like he's like face to face with the bad guy and he conjures enough energy to use chaos control and freeze time and then just beat the shit out of him while he's frozen. We all remember that part of the movie, right? So that's just another reason that it's completely perfect casting. The fact that John Wick can canonically do chaos control. You remember that, right, Dennis? You saw that part in the movie? Why are you laughing? Oh, okay, yeah, I was confused. I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean to get like all like judgy there. I didn't know why you were laughing. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait.
But Dennis remembers that part too. We all remember when John Wick did chaos control in John Wick 3.
So that's why
halfway through the
Keanu
movie.
Reeves is the ultimate life form. Just flat out. I
Imagine
cannot wait.
He's gonna. Oh my god.
He's actually gonna say that line, and like I think you could only pull off that line if the context is perfect. Because if he just randomly says, like, out of nowhere, out of pocket to Sonic and friends, like, I am the ultimate life, we're all gonna just cringe and laugh. Because it's the most cringy fucking line ever out of Shadow. I am the ultimate life form. That is a wild statement, even for a 4'11" hedgehog.
I mean, in a sense, it kind of makes sense, because let's just be honest for a second, and we're going to address an elephant in the room that hasn't been really addressed in a very, very long time, considering where Sonic is now as opposed to where he was back in the 90s. Let's just be dead set honest for a second. Sonic the Hedgehog was very clearly took some inspiration from Dragon Ball.
Oh,
clearly.
Absolutely.
It's like abundantly obvious. The 7 Chaos Emeralds. However fucking many Dragon Balls there were.
Sonic, Super Saiyan. Come on, bro.
Supersonic, Hyper Shadow.
Which is fine, too. Akira Toriyama inspired a bunch of people.
Their fucking hair when they go sit like... Dude.
The thing is... But that's the thing.
So the fact that he calls himself the ultimate life form, we cringe at it because it is the most fucking cringy ass, like, Smash player says it to you after you beat him in bracket, anime ass protagonist line of all time.
If Shadow was ever in Smash,
the ultimate life form.
If Shadow was ever in Smash, like, it would just be the ultimate taunt. Like, every time he like fucking just bodies your ass, it just takes 2 stocks in 2 minutes. You just kind of like taunt, I am the ultimate life form.
If Shadow was in Smash Brothers, and I've had this conversation with Smashers plenty of times, there is no way he would not be copiously overpowered.
Oh, fuck yeah.
There's not a chance in hell.
First month, like, that entire, like, kind of version of the game, like, with Shadow in it, he's just gonna be, like, the most broken fucker.
Like, actually... unplayable, like, justifiable to smash your controller down. at the local afterwards. Because think about it, Sonic. I mean, I don't know if I've told you this before. Sonic is a very meta-relevant character in Smash Brothers. He's one of the best characters in the game. There's a player from, I believe, the Dominican Republic named Sonics who travels around, gets a lot of really amazing results. A very talented Sonic player. Sonic, of course, you can probably imagine he's the fastest character in the game, because he doesn't take a fucking pro Smash player or commentator to figure that out.
Even faster than Fox? And a bunch of others?
Way faster than Fox, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, way faster than Fox, absolutely. On the ground, at least. He's got homing attack, he's got spin dash, he can fly around the screen, doing damage at all times, very fast, can just really beat you to the punch
just
in a lot of
building up
scenarios
damage,
that other characters can't.
Quick.
Rack up damage really quickly, mix up where he's going to go because of spin dash. Imagine all of that
in Shadow.
On a character with a projectile, because he has a fucking gun.
He has a gun, he could also shoot Chaos Spear. You also
shoot Chaos Spear, and you remember Smash 4 with Bayonetta. The most broken thing about her, the fact that she could freeze time.
Oh,
guess who else could do that shit?
Oh my god.
Shadow would literally be Sonic, but with a projectile and fucking witch time.
And he would be Smash Ultimate
so broken.
His ultimate would also be ultimate, I guess. His final Smash, his final Smash would be just Super Shadow, which
Hyper Shadow, which also very good one. There's no way that, it's the same thing as, Dante. It's you can't put him in the game without, making him fucking broken. Or Virgil,
either or of them is just, so fucking...
Maybe Raiden. Maybe Raiden, too. That would have been an interesting addition. Holy fuck. Point is, we all thought it was going to happen because, a lot of the advertising for Smash Ultimate when it came up were Echo Fighters. We could put so many new characters into the game because their assets are literally ripped from one other character. Peach and Daisy, Simon and Richter, Pit and Dark Pit. They're literally the same character. So a lot of clones? A lot of clones, right? A lot of clones in the game, but they're justifiable being put in as clones because they advertise them as clones. They're not that different, but they have one minor difference, so we give them their own slot. So we all, as you could probably imagine, Dennis, this is the first time ever when that bear in the big blue house gif was actually posted around on the internet, was in spring of 2018 when Smash Ultimate was announced and they started talking about Echo Fighters. Every motherfucker on Twitter was like, where is Shadow? Where is Shadow? Where could Shadow be? And then they didn't put him in the game. Which sucks, but is also kind of good at the same time. Shadow would have been... He would have gotten a couple nerfs. He would have gotten a couple fucking nerfs.
The thing is with even Smash as well, and for a lot of its life cycle that I even just know of off the top of my head when it came to the character releases, it kind of went the same way that Overwatch kind of went, where it's new character, broken on release, and then we'll nerf him afterwards. So it's kind of the same cycle that we see for a lot of other games, when they introduce a new character and such. It's just he's new, he's fresh, he's broken as fuck, and you guys are gonna break the shit out of him until we nerf him inevitably after 2 or 3 weeks. And so just go nuts with him and enjoy. It's kind of very much the same way where for my game for Yu-Gi-Oh, it's here's all these broken ass cards that we're gonna end up banning or limiting anyways. So enjoy them while you can, essentially.
It also just depends on the game and the dev team, because sometimes it takes way longer than that.
That is fair.
I'm actually not competing in some NASB 2 brackets right now. I'm taking a step back because I realized I was developing an unhealthy relationship with the game. I started to have a little bit less. I was just really busy because I was taking care of Bear by myself all week, so I was actually being an adult. So that already made it no time for brackets and no time to warm up or anything.
Hey, but that's good though. You take responsibility. You're growing up.
I'm a responsible guy. Don't worry. Believe me, I haven't entered a Smash tournament in 4 years. Well, besides HDR, I entered that on
I've heard 30-year-olds be on Xbox Live and they have their kids in the background. I'm like, why the fuck are you playing? That was actually a thing that happened a long time ago. I could not believe it.
With the exception of this Monday night, I haven't entered a Smash bracket in 5 months with no HDR, and I haven't played Smash Ultimate in 4 years because I don't wanna. But the point is, I started realizing I was developing an unhealthy relationship with the game. For the fact that I needed to be an adult, I just wanted to be an adult, wasn't doing the shit I was supposed to be doing, was spending too much time on it, and the main actual reason, not bullshitting anymore, would be the Tier 0 shit. Because you're not going to understand. You're going to understand because Tier 0 is annoying, but you're also not going to understand because of who it is. Aang is fucked.
Oh, he's the master of the 4 elements is cracked.
Dude, I can't fucking stand him anymore. A lot of us can't stand him, and I'm not the only person who stopped playing the game because of the way he is right now. He's next on the chopping block. To our knowledge, he's next on the chopping block. I have my sources.
To get nerfed as fuck?
Yes.
Like, nerfed down to the earth? Like,
nah, not that. Probably not that much, but just to get rid of his egregious shit. And
so
whatnot.
If he's at tier 0, just at least bring him down to tier 1? Like, just where every other tier 1 character is at?
Maybe. I mean, I'm gonna send you this link real quick. Sure. And I'll put it on screen for you all right now. Like, I'll download it. Just take a look at this. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. I might have to fucking... I might have to screen share it for you because it's on Twitter. But this is a clip from a bracket that I casted last night. It's a very, very good player named Hockey, who constantly downplays the character as a joke. He's like, oh, look at me in my humble mid-tier. So good, outskilled, blah, blah, blah. And he knows what he's doing with that. It's really annoying. But point is, this is how he opened that game. Can you watch the clip?
Yeah,
you saw that shit, right? Did you see that? Did you see that 3, 2, 1, go, dead?
That is actually absurd. Oh my god.
Yeah, you saw that? 3, 2, 1, go. What was that? Actually, we're going to take a countdown of how long this was, actually. Hang on a second. So it goes 3, 2, 1, go. 1. We'll keep it on screen right now. We'll count the seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it was actually about 7.
So not even 9 seconds, guys. 7 seconds.
0 to death, right out the gate. And did you see Danny up air in front of him and how his up air completely missed, and then Aang just up aired his own up air, and that one connected from the same distance?
And the thing is, too, is that, like, you know, for games like this where it's like, okay, if you're going to get punished for making a wrong move, yeah, obviously, like, okay, like, getting punished is getting punished, but, like, 0 to 7 to death is, like... That's just like, fuck you at that point. Like,
and even if he missed the up B that killed him at the end, Aang can do that thing where, like, he gets put in a free fall, right? He's floating with the, whatever the thing that he uses. He's floating with the glider, and at any point, he's actionable, and he can just, like, dive bomb down with a hitbox. So sometimes he can true confirm out of that as well, and you can't even only drift away from him that far. Not to mention his up air, like, it's just huge and egregious, comes out before some jabs do on the ground. He's very, very overtuned right now, is what it is. And I literally just don't want to play against that. It's not fucking fun. I'm sorry, but it ain't. What is your question, Dennis?
So, is he an example of a character who... It's not even like, okay, like, he's easy to play, but he's, like, really hard to master. It's just like, this character will carry you if you know how to play.
He will carry you if you know how to play, I feel. I've never played Aang once myself. Who knows? You probably have to just, like, learn, like, some fundamentals of the character, but with how egregious his tools are, like, he really can just spam up air and neutral, the same way that Danny can spam, like, his back air cancels and stuff, but you still need to learn how to do it. It's not like pick up and play and you win tournaments instantly. That is not how... he's not like that. He's not like Bayonetta or, like, any shit like that, where even Bayonetta, you needed to learn the character because of how weird she was. She had a learning curve. But there were unranked players who started winning their locals and, like, placing high in regionals out of nowhere when the character dropped. It doesn't take a fucking Einstein-level genius to figure out how that happened.
How is the mirror with Aang?
Like the mirror match?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty diverse crowd of characters. Not everybody plays Aang. It's not like that. NASB 2 is a little bit more, I don't want to say insular scene, but, like, a little bit more condensed in that obviously it's not as popular as Smash or whatever, but, like, there still are a lot of players that play it, and we each have our own, like, little separate character chats and stuff in there, so it's not like everybody is just playing Aang right now or winning tournaments. It's just the ones that do are, like, really
But he is the most overtuned, though, out of everybody.
The general consensus is that, yes, some people think Danny is better. Danny is also really fucking stupid. I'm not gonna hold you. The Angry Beavers are insane as well. Yeah.
So much so that they in need of a nerf, even the two of them?
There's been whole discussions in the Discord about that, because the top representatives don't necessarily think so, because much like Smash players, they always, like, downplay their character and shit like that, but sometimes they also know more about the game than we do. And they realize, like, hey, if you nerf this character in this way, they'll be trash. And that's not fair. Like, when nerfing something in a fighting game or a card game, it's important to try to retain, like, their original design. And I feel they did, like, one example of that, like, to really get what I'm going at here, would be Bayonetta in Smash Brothers, right? Smash 4, we all know the gist. Bayonetta was copiously overpowered. They it was really, really good how they nerfed her, because they nerfed her, they took away like all like the stupid egregious shit, toned it down to an acceptable level, but that's all they did. They didn't completely overwork her to change the original design of the character to alienate the Bayonetta players. She still played like how she did. You know how broken she was in Smash 4. She comboed you with the witch twist uppy move, did the double side kicks, the aerial kicks in the air, and then did the uppy off the top again, and then just roofed you with the up air.
So just juggled you to death.
Touched you from literally anywhere, you just died. The character didn't have a disadvantage state, basically. Her hitboxes were huge and egregious. You couldn't contest them with anything. Impossible to approach because of the threat of witch time. She could freeze you at any time and kill you off of that, which was just another really insane thing, that the character could freeze you and had true 0 to deaths off of it. And in Smash Ultimate, she's the same way in that she still has witch time, but there's a cooldown timer on it now. It doesn't freeze you forever. She can still do her crazy combos. They're just not as egregious, and she can't really roof off the top with them as easily anymore.
She's just more balanced.
She's more balanced, but she still plays the same. And that's the brilliance of Sakurai and how they decided to nerf that character. They nerfed her, but she still plays the same, as to not alienate the Bayonetta players who just love this character. This is the one we want to play. She's still her, but now she's fair. There's some like developers that don't necessarily know what they're doing, and they'll be like, this is overpowered, nerf the shit, character can't function anymore. That happens sometimes too, and that's not successful. Like, yeah, like the broken shit is gone, but now you can't even play this character anymore.
Yeah, now it's just like she's completely unusable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
so,
Smash Bayonetta is a really great example of how to properly nerf a character, because Bayonetta's still good. There's a top Bayonetta player named Bloom Forever in the UK, who's I think from the UK, who's a really, really good one. There's still the good Bayonetta players here who, to this day, have been able to top 8 tournaments with her after everybody thought they over-nerfed Bayonetta and said she was trash, but that's because a lot of Smashers don't know anything about, fucking
They're also very sensationalist, like, when it comes to I feel a lot of that stuff.
It's just on Twitter, there's a lot of, like, newbies who don't know what they're talking about, or people who, like, play the game for, like, a while, don't have any results, and then think they know more than the fucking top players.
Yeah.
It's, like, it's very dumb, and that's why Twitter is not a real place, but we're not getting on that discussion. So that's just my stick on how to properly nerf a character. So to ask you a question, has there ever been a time in Yu-Gi-Oh where they nerfed a card well? If there was a tier 0 thing or something that was very, very overtuned and overpowered, but they nerfed it while having it still retain its utilities. Has that ever happened in Yu-Gi-Oh, or do they just typically like over nerf shit?
They did. Well, the thing is too is that, like, everyone's got like their different opinions when it comes to like what to hit and how to hit a deck, or even like kind of just how should we kind of put it on the ban list. And like in our case, like tier 0 TEAR, so Tearlaments was a stupidly overtuned and just completely oppressive ass deck when it first came out. When the first set that it came out in, called Power of the Elements, they were just typically a mill, so to mill your cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard, and a fusion strategy. So every time you milled one of these girls, there were 3 of them, and essentially, with the way that Yu-Gi-Oh kind of, limits kind of numbers in their game, and when it comes to cards, is that like there's usually max 3. You can play 3 of the same card, unless it's on the ban list, in your deck. So for the tier girls, there were 3 of them each. So 3 and 3, 9. There was 9 cards you could potentially just mill to just start something, do something. And when there was these cards called the Ishizu cards that had come out, they just made you mill more. And typically in a mill strategy, like things can snowball like very quickly, where it's like, okay, if I mill the right cards and if I just snowball from here, typically you're essentially dead. And like I'll just be gaining so much advantage and plussing at that point that like there is just, no matter what the fuck you do, you're just dead. Like this turn will be the last turn essentially, if I mill correctly, and if I mill also just like, well, you're done, you're dead. And there was a point in time, like when the tier 0 format was going on for like at least a couple months, it was arguably the most skillful format that we've had in recent memory. We're already in another tier 0 format now, but it's way less power power-wise, it's way less than what it was a good year ago, or at least I think 2 years ago from this point on, with Tier 0. And people still have even no ban list tournaments where everything's legal. All the broken shit that you guys love to play with is all free. You can do and play however you want with it. And Tier 0 in formats like that fucking excels every time. Anytime I've seen a tournament where like they just said like Tier 0 is completely legal. Like every single one of the cards is not limited or anything. Like it's just, you can play it to the max level that you wanted. And every time that I've seen it play, it just completely raffle stomps everything. It's actually hilarious too, considering like people have even argued like tier limits, like the deck, like I guess the archetype itself. This is so like it was a mistake. Why'd they ever make this and blah blah? Because there was one thing that it did that people really didn't like, and it's because like there was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh where like the game was just it was very much slow. It's like I play on my turn and I'll do my stuff, and then on your turn you do your stuff, and it was just kind of like that, you know, like kind of very much a game of chess in a way. But then when it came to Tier 0, and with the way even tier limits even functioned as like a deck, I'm playing on your turn. Anything you do, I can also do something. And I could even like, you know how like in the game, like, okay, I summon a monster, right? On my turn, I'm summoning something.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just passing from there, right? For tier limits, I was summoning 3 to 4 times easy on their turn, like on the opponent's turn. And everyone always kind of says and argues, it's like, bro, it's my turn. But when it came to tier, there was a meme where everyone just said, your turn? Nah, our turn, bro. It's like, I'm playing on your turn. It's our turn right now. And it was one of the biggest reasons why like people hate the archetype, because it's like, you're doing all these things on my turn. I'm supposed to be doing something. And it's like, no.
I don't know anything about like card games, but that sounds very fundamentally game breaking.
Yeah.
So, because like in one hand it sounds deep because it's like, hey, I'm playing on your turn. Like that's how far ahead of the game I am than you. But if you literally are, that's
where I'm summoning, let's say 4 or 5 monsters on a board that's only 5 slots already. And not to mention, I'm just building it right in front of you as you're building your own. Oftentimes, like the way games went, and especially if they played the mirror, it was very skillful in the sense that like you had to know when to do something and when not to. Because very much at that point, it's like, look, the deck we're playing is the same thing. It's the same one. It's the most broken fucking thing ever right now. So, but at the same time, like that's when players' skills were very much emphasized, because for one, the deck itself was just so much gas. It was so much just going on all at once that we have a thing called chain links, which are like basically, it's like when an opponent responds to something that I'm doing. So oftentimes, at least within this game, like the max you could ever see is maybe like a chain link 5. Okay, like I respond to that, I respond to that, I respond to that, I respond to that. Chain link 5. Max usually like kind of where it would go. We had games around that format where it was chain link 12. It was insane. There was even a fucking YCS or like a big event where they were showing a feature match where there was so many cards trying to be activated all at once. They had to pause the game to kind of see like, okay, like how do we resolve all of these? Because the way chain links go, with the way chain links are, you resolve them backwards. So whatever chain link 11 is, you have to resolve it backwards from there. And there is just so much interaction going on within those chain link 11s that I remember people even saying that like the game could be decided like right then and there, or it could just be so drawn out because there's just so many things going on all at once that eventually when the deck, when tier limits did get hit, the girls went to 1 from 3 to 1. The Yoshizu cards all went from, there was 4 of them. 2 of them were ones we called millers. So if they are sent to the graveyard, to the discard pile, I get to mill 5 cards off the top of my deck. On top of already whatever the fuck I milled before. So it's like easily I could mill my whole deck within 1 turn. And like potentially if I hit 2 of the millers, I'm milling 10. I'm milling 10 fucking cards all in one goddamn
milling
turn.
Just like drawing cards, I assume, or like just adding them to your deck, or what does that
mean?
No.
So when it comes to milling, I'm just sending them to the graveyard. And with the way tier limits even worked was that they all do things when they're sent to the graveyard. So if I, let's say, potentially just have a whole stack of cards that all do something when they're sent to the graveyard, and I'm milling 10, I'm plussing the fuck out of all of that. And like, there is nothing you can do about it. And especially for the cards, they also forced your opponent to mill their cards as well. So if I milled one of the millers, I'm milling 5 and you're milling 5. And potentially I could even see like what deck you're running. And that kind of information is huge in this game, because it's like if a player is also knowledgeable enough, they'll know immediately, okay, I know how to beat this deck immediately. I didn't know what they were playing before. Now I do. And with that game knowledge, I'm essentially like thinking, if they were good and if they're very knowledgeable in the game, they just won. They just automatically knew what the fuck to do. And like they just knew how to beat that deck entirely, whatever your opponent was playing. So there came a point in time where like, okay, the ban list came. All the girls were down to 1. The millers were down to 1. The other Shizu cards were also down to 1. And for a time, it seemed like, okay, like things are very much balanced. And considering the format that we got after that one, for anyone who is like, let's say, familiar, you know, there was like, there was just no really environment in which like tier limits could thrive. But then months later, there was a new set that came out that actually brought them back to prominence, even with the hits on the list for them. And for a time, like there was even a thing we called so funny, called a Trump format, which is where like 5 decks, acronym wise, tier being the number 1, being the T, 5 decks were basically the most dominant fucking decks of that entire format. And like if you weren't really playing any of these, minus one other one that like I guess that wasn't part of the acronym, but if you weren't playing any of these, you just kind of weren't winning in that format. And it was a very much a busted open, wide open format for that time.
Why in multiple different types of competitive games are like techs and like decks and stuff attributed to the word Trump?
Like trump card?
Yeah, because like in Smash Brothers, there's starting from Smash 4, you can't edgehog or ledgehog anymore, which means when you're holding the ledge, the way it used to be in Smash is that when you were holding the ledge, no one else could hold the ledge. So if you were edge guarding somebody, it ended with you grabbing the ledge so they couldn't make it back.
Yeah.
In Smash 4, they got rid of that, and now if you're hanging on a ledge and somebody else tries to grab it, that player grabs it and it forces you off the ledge. So what players eventually learn to do is that they could figure something out while ledge trapping called ledge trumping, where they wait till their opponent's going to grab the ledge, they grab it immediately after they get on, and then just back air them off of the stage after they do that, and we called it a ledge trump. And I just think that's kind of funny that apparently in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's also something called trumping, or like 5 different decks that you made
Trump
like a
format.
list.
It was just kind of just the meta at the time. It was just like these were the decks that like, okay, if you wanted to win and play potentially, these are the ones you go for. And all of them, of course, like kind of had their own pluses and minuses, like their own pros and cons.
This is the best deck, the greatest deck out of all the decks.
There was even one other deck.
My deck is the biggest deck. America has never seen a deck like this before.
The R in that format was actually called, there was one called Rescue Ace, but everyone always just called it racism. Is oh yo bro, he's a racism player. You know what the deck was actually, like the archetype? It was just like firefighters. It's like machines like putting out fires. Like that was fucking it. It was like this stupid like meme shit. But like I think for me, like especially kind of like just talking about like I guess tier 0 even again. Like, you know, we're in one now, but I mentioned before a couple episodes back that people are saying that this is arguably one of the worst tier 0 formats we've ever had, only simply because of the fact that like we just had a recent ban list that actually did a lot of good, I will admit. It did actually like clean up the game a bit, but it went in the right direction. I'm not giving them too much credit there because I low-key hate Konami, but when it came to this one right now that we're in, when people were playing tier 0, like tier limit 0 a while back, because you know card games always have like that little price to entry kind of a barrier where it's like if you want to play this game and you want to play it well at a competitive level, you need obviously the best cards. And for at least people were saying for tier 0, like for Telements, it was arguably one of the most accessible tier 0 formats that they've ever had, where I could buy the whole core of the deck and play it well and everything for a fraction of what we're paying now, because the decks that are being played now in this tier 0 format in 2024, they're worth $1,200. Or they used to be, but now the price has gone down a bit, but it's still like I'm paying $1,000 just to play at this level is insane. And it is, again, it was a fraction of this before, like during tier 0. And people's main gripe about this whole format now is like, you know, they're kind of sick of it. And like, I'm already kind of sick of it too. Like, you know, ban list aside and everything, it's like they've removed like certain elements of the game that like, you know, were, I'll admit were fairly toxic. But at the same time, it's like they brought back a lot of stuff that they thought would be the answer to these cards leaving, and it is just not it. And at the same time, like after that ban list that was announced recently, my desire for the game and like to kind of be playing it has very much diminished in a way, only because it's like, you know, Konami doesn't like to hit cards that they know are money cards, because they know players invested a lot of money into them, and just seeing them
you've talked about this before.
Yeah. And seeing them banned and limited, like, thing would fucking cause them to go in an outrage, and probably like, you know, I mean, you know, they're worried about that, but I'm also thinking like they're still going to be playing the game though. These guys are fucking whales. They don't give a shit. They'll like play whatever is like the best deck. So like, you know, they'll be angry for like a fucking format, and then they'll be back and saying like, oh yeah, like I love Konami. It's like the cycle that like always plays out like every year for the players, at least for the ones who invest heavily into the game like this. And for me, it's like I'm very much not trying to play those decks right now, just because like, for one, like, you know, I'm broke as fuck. I will admit that. But I even said like, and argued like with friends in my group chat that like, even if I had the money to buy these cards and like to play this deck right now, I wouldn't do it. $1,200 is insane. Like, I could go on a vacation, a pretty good one at that, like, you know, anywhere.
Probably be better for your mental.
And for my mental, yeah.
To be honest.
Like, people going out to enjoy the game however they want, like, you know, I'm not going to take nothing away from them. Like, if you want to play at a very high competitive level, then yeah, obviously go for the best decks. But like, I don't know, like it just seems like for this recent ban list especially, like, you know, I've had a couple of cards that were essentially hit that I used, and I almost felt like the trade-off that we got for them was kind of gross, because these cards that they brought back essentially shut you down from mechanics of the game, and it just basically like floodgates you out of like playing. And I'm like, how is that better? Like, I just didn't understand like the decision process on that. They made some good hits, I will admit that, but it was just like the answer you then had for the things that were taken away is not it at all. Oh, like, I guess just to wrap up too, is just like, you know, I think now, like, I'm kind of at least glad at least I have a couple of decks that are like still like, I guess, fairly competitively viable. Not like tier 0 or anything for that matter, but like at the very least, like, you know, I can enjoy and I could still play. I still play a tier deck, even with all the hits like on the fucking deck. It still plays well. I think it's just, for me, like the like with the way that they're even pushing out product now is also like really annoying for me, because like we had one format where we had one deck that came out that rarity is a big deal in this game, that I think if you ever going into Yu-Gi-Oh, like, this is one thing you have to keep in mind of if you ever want to play competitively, because it's just that the cards that are money, they're almost never going to touch like right away. They're never going to, because they know like this is the main thing that is driving product sales. For cards that are low rarity and like that are a problem, they'll hit immediately because it's no skin off their bones at all. Even for the bottom dollar, it's done at all. I don't give a fuck if this goes, because it's like, one thing is that they don't like it when a cheap deck does well. They do not like it whatsoever. And in the case of, let's say, even this there's this one new archetype that's coming out that people are pretty hyped for, but a friend of mine is very much even scared of kind of what the next ban list means for this deck, because it's all low rarity. It's all shit that he kind of feels they could hit this whenever. And it will not even matter to them at all. Because for one, they're not money cards. It does not matter for them. And it's the reason why, like, investing in the game, I even felt is this just a waste of time then for me?
Right.
Because it's like, and even for my friend too, it just feels like, why even bother at that point?
I can't imagine having to deal with that. Truly, from any competitive game that I've ever played, the only way I can correlate it to my neck of the woods, and it's not even my neck of the woods because I haven't competed in Melee since 2016, something like that. That's very much not a game. That's very much only a spectator sport for me, and I don't even watch it very often anyway. Only for the really big tournaments that happen. I can't imagine having to deal with that. These $12,000 decks just are $1,000 decks just to be able to play the damn game. The only way that can relate to Ultimate is just the DLC characters who they want to make good to sell them.
Yeah, but that's $40,
not even way less than that. Yeah,
20.
For all of them really. And the only way I can relate to that or compare it to Smash, I suppose, would be in Melee. There's a lot of controller mods. You can add Firefox notches and Wave Dash notches that you can carve into your controller now. You can make your shoulder buttons, the buttons you use to Wave Dash and shield with and shield drop with, tactile. You know the GameCube controller buttons, how they're a little more analog? They got that spring where you can press them up and down. You can make it just click if you want.
Oh, shit.
Other controller mods, you could put snapback capacitors in them. Which, if you don't know what snapback is, when you're running in Smash Brothers, sometimes when you let go of your stick, it doesn't reset back to neutral. It flicks slightly in the other direction, causing your character to turn around. So it just makes your movement
a lot more snappier.
No, not even that. It causes your character to turn around when you don't want them to, as well as make some frame perfect.
But these mods will completely
fixes them.
Fix that. Yeah.
Solder the shit on, as well as all the aesthetic changes and whatnot that you can do. You can make your buttons glow, make all different. You've seen my GameCube controller; it's red.
Yeah,
it's completely bright red, but like a GameCube sticker. I have all my other ones that are custom made too and stuff. That's been a hot topic of discussion in the Melee community for years, because some people think they make the game too good. I know a guy who's a very prominent professional controller modder. He's made controllers for Mango. He's made them for a bunch of other top players in Melee and in Ultimate and whatnot, as well as just he's fixed up my controller plenty of times. He's a local guy. Shoutouts to Levi. He, as well as some other people in the community, have said that box controllers, because you could play them on little stick box controllers that the FGC fighters use for Street Fighter and stuff. They say that they're broken because they literally have extra buttons that you can map certain things to. GameCube controllers kind of don't, but people look the other way for some reason. Probably because Hacks, the guy who invented them, has really fucked up hands, and that's why he invented them, so he could actually play the game again, among other reasons. But there's a bunch of other controller professional logistical stuff that he explained to me why they're broken that I do not understand and cannot possibly repeat to you in any facet. But top players have complained about them for a long time, because now even they feel, because all these top players use these fob controllers and whatnot, and all these fancy modded ones to be able to make the game more consistent, because despite people saying Melee's a perfect game, they have to mod the controllers and mod the game a little bit and stuff to make sure it stays perfect. Haha, wink wink. They need to buy these expensive-ass controllers to be able to compete at a reasonable level now. All the top players use fancy modded controllers that either have snapback capacitors or notches and whatnot, tactile buttons, all this different stuff modded into it. There's a billion different mods that you can do to these controllers now. And now some people are saying it was a mistake that we made those legal, because now to compete at a tip-top level, you kind of need to do it. And at a lower level, you don't really need that shit to get better at the game. That's not your problem. You need to get better at the game, and if you're blaming it on your controller when you're at low level, that's not.
You're just an idiot.
You're just bad. You're just bad, and you're wasting your money. But yeah, that's the only way I can relate to it, because some people have been complaining that Melee has been becoming pay to win in that regard.
In controller mods, specifically.
Yeah. And in Ultimate, it's not as important because, like, Ultimate's just not as, like, deep of a game movement-wise. It doesn't have, like, all the crazy little intricacies that Melee does and all, like, the crazy, like, things that you can do in that game. Wave dashing, wave landing, shield dropping, like, wave landing on platforms, all that stuff. Like, all the different sort of tech that you can do and how crazy technical the game is. Ultimate's a little bit more simplified in that regard, so you really don't need crazy, like, controller mods to be able to compete well at a certain level. But Melee, you know, some people are arguing that you can. Like, the latest hot topic is Z-jump. You can, like, jump with the Z button, and some people are saying that provides an unfair advantage because you have way more, like, access to different, like, buttons with your thumb now that you normally wouldn't have. You can get your aerials out way faster because you use a whole different finger to jump. And some people are saying that should be banned, too, and some top players who use it are saying it shouldn't, and they've been discussing this for years. And I cannot imagine having to deal with all that bullshit. Not to mention with, like, Nintendo, like, you know, breathing down their neck every now and again, like, whenever some weird shit, like, rears their ugly head. I can't imagine having to deal with that, truly. But what I do understand, Dennis, is not being happy or satisfied with the current state of your game and wanting to take a step back from it.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody tell you anything different. And I'm gonna go off here in saying that there's different ways you can contribute to your local scene. As somebody who came from Smash, which is a very grassroots community, obviously, because Nintendo kind of hates us, and has made that abundantly clear. It's not where the money's at, even though it's one of the most popular fighting games, bar fucking none. To the point where Smash Twitter is considered a thing. As you all know, it's driven me insane plenty of times. But, yeah. NASB is a little bit smaller. It's much more condensed to the Discords and online tournaments because of how good the online scene is, and not many like specific like locals that you go to play it.
Also, but it's an actual community compared to Smash. Like,
Smash is an actual
TBH, man. Like,
it's just because of the medium we use. The medium is the message. They all use Twitter, which makes it so like they're just a bunch of weirdos who like incite discussions and like call it discourse of the week and take something one random player said and then run off with it like just to like make their dumb little tweets about it just to feed their shitty egos. It's different because Twitter promotes that. It's like I've been saying for years the Smash community would be a much more bearable place online. Offline, it's great. You go to the locals, it's good for the most part. I mean, there's weirdos every now and again, but every scene has that. I imagine Yu-Gi-Oh! Does too. Online, it's different because, like, you know, NASB feels better because we use Discord and it's a little more condensed and, like, there's less weirdos, even though I'm sure there have been weirdos every now and again. Smash, it's, like, way different because of how much bigger the scene is and the fact that we use Twitter, a platform that promotes discourse and spreads misinformation and just promotes, even now more than ever since Elon took over, just getting your likes off and getting your tweets off.
Yeah.
Just people who like
it's a numbers game.
People who love to instigate and then complain that the scene is shitty, even though they're part of the fucking problem. Basically, it's
just
different because
like hypocrisy, like just everywhere.
And that's the difference between the online Smash scene and the offline one. When you actually go to these things and interact with real humans, it's different. But not to say they're the most socially adept human beings, because obviously a lot of them fucking aren't. Way less women at Smash tournaments as compared to FGC tournaments. I'll tell you that much. But I just want to say here, real quick, there's different ways to contribute to the scene. Especially coming from local scenes where, like, you know, it's all Smash, you get what you give into it. And NASB's sort of the same thing. I wanted to take a step back from competing because I'm not happy with the state of the game. I already talked about that. Aang is really annoying. And you know, obviously I just haven't had the time to compete, feel like I should be spending time doing other things. So I'm taking a step back. That mental is just as important to the physicalities and the practice and knowledge of competing in either video games, competitive games, or card games. If you recognize you need to take a step back, do it. Because there's other ways you can contribute. I casted a bracket last night for about 4 or 5 hours because I wanted to do that instead because I still wanted to be involved, and I've been a caster by trade for many, many years. Less so in recent years, but I still do every now and again, right? So I just want to say that because, like, people, there's like a little bit of a stigma that, like, oh, if you step back or you don't want to do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. Like, every now and again, someone will say, like, oh, you're a bitch for doing this. It's like, dude, I'm not happy. Why force yourself to do this thing that is supposed to be leisurely for me, that is supposed to take me away from the mundaneness of, like, normal life, that is supposed to be something that makes me happy and makes me forget about all the struggles and all the shitty things that happened at work today if it's not contributing to my happiness? At a certain point, you got to understand what's the point then. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't feel bad for wanting to take a step back from that. And if you're having a hard time doing that, like I was from Smash for a really long time, because you feel like you don't have anything else, well, maybe it's time to start looking, you know? That's why I want to say that there's just different ways to do that, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because Dennis said, I'm not happy with the state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. It's kind of demotivating me to do it. Don't ignore that. That's valid. Because if you just, like, feed into it and decide, like, fuck it, I'll do this anyway, you're contributing to something that you feel like is irrational or that is making the scene worse. And for me, that's sort of the same thing. Not that it's not about contributing to NASB brackets or anything, or that, like, I don't want to support them or anything, blah, 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 like the hardworking people who run these tournaments. It's not that. It's because I'm just not happy with the way the state of thing... I'm not happy with, like, the state of the game right now.
It's Aang. He's not happy with Aang.
Basically, yeah. And other characters piss me off, too. Like, Korra is fucking obnoxious.
All the Avatar characters.
I hate all the Avatar characters, dude. Shit character from a shit show, dude.
Master of all four elements, just bodying everybody. It's pretty appropriate.
Obnoxious. And, like, at least he's canonically the strongest character in the game, so it makes sense. But yeah, the point is that, like, there's different ways to contribute to your scenes. You could be a commentator, you could be a TO, you could be an artist and, like, go to, like, the artist alleys and stuff.
You could also shower and not smell like ass.
You could do that too, but that goes for all of you pretty much, both for Yu-Gi-Oh! And Smash. You could fucking make art, like, for, like, the PR graphics and stuff like that. You can crunch numbers for people. Like, there's so many skills that you can apply and, like, add to it, Don't feel bad for not being a competitor or if that's not your thing, because despite that being what the show is about, it's supposed to be about community at the end of the day. So, if it's not making you happy, just do what you gotta do to find that again.
I have a story that I want to say before we wrap up today.
That,
because it's honestly pretty embarrassing, but it's also really funny. There was a Twitter thread a while back. I think it was like I say a while back, but like, I guess, like, I don't know, a while back seems like such like a week ago seems like a while ago for me. But a week ago or so, like, there was a girl from Japan who it was said in a headline she actually had to leave a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. It was in Japan, so it's more it's what they call OCG territory over there. And she was at a tournament, and she left. And someone
Why did she leave, Dennis? I'm very curious and wondering as to how this story ends. It is definitely not obvious by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever.
She left because she found the smell of the place just unbearable. And it was insinuated that, like, oh, like, it was just like a toxic place. Like, she just didn't, it was toxic, all right, for the nasal region, but it wasn't toxic at all for her, like, that it was like a toxic game environment or anything like that. It was just straight up that she found that the place smelled so bad that she left. And this started a whole thing on Twitter that after it had happened, and everyone was just kind of retweeting everyone was just retweeting the story, like, left and right. And, and it just kind of brought to attention that, like, I guess this is a bit, like, not, related to kind of what we were talking about before, considering we started with Shadow the Hedgehog for all fucking things. But, like, it was just kind of funny, though, like, how I mentioned before that, like, you could contribute to your scene by not smelling like ass. And, like, it's just, people have heard, and even with Smash tournaments, it's like, y'all smell like shit. And so does my community, unfortunately. And, like, it's actually fucking embarrassing that something like this even happened. And, like, she was actually coming from playing on mobile for a while, and she wanted to play on paper. And I don't think she's ever going to be playing paper ever again now at this point. So, at all, fuck, like, at this point, like, why the fuck would anybody, really? And I guess, like, kind of what I was saying, though, that, like, hey, you could also have no skills whatsoever, like, to contribute to your local scene. The best thing you could do is just, it's like a PSA, just fucking shower, man. Just wash your fucking ass. You're
valuable, too, if you go 0-2 with these tournaments. Because we need pot fillers.
And also,
now there's people in the scene who unironically think like that. Fucking virgins. Honestly, but
they
the
also
point
probably
is,
smell, too.
Debatable. If they're top players, they usually don't smell because they're like, oh, I can't smell. It affects my image.
Not to mention, guys,
kidding.
remember...
Not necessarily true.
Konami has also even put up official guidelines that if your opponent smells like ass, you can tell a judge and they will get penalized because it's against policy.
Didn't Nintendo do the same thing now when we were roasting their new community guidelines that they made for like the licensing of like major tournaments? Didn't they say something about personal hygiene in there? I think I remember them doing that.
They probably would have, I feel.
I don't remember if they did or not, truthfully. I don't go to too many majors. I mean, I'm going to Gommel. Yeah. Y'all can catch me at Gommel. I'll be doing NASB stuff there and whatnot. But yeah, I imagine it's the same thing for women in the Smash scene because obviously the Smash scene has a different stigma attached to it, you know. So women are already very uncomfortable at those events. Like at FGC events, it's different. Like I've been to an FGC event before. There's way more women there, and they're not just like, oh, I'm so and so's girlfriend.
Although there are a lot of those.
There's a lot of those, but they're competitors. I casted to defend the North last year. One of the casters for Tekken, I believe, one of them was a woman. Kind of reminds me of that. That tweet that I sent to the group chat of that guy saying that his college was well known for having a really good Japanese studies program.
Oh my god.
And then they hired this anthropologist that specialized in Japanese culture. But then she quit after a fucking year. Bruh. She said the weebs were too infuriating to try and teach.
Oh god.
Where are the subtitles?
Where are the subtitles? Oh, Kimochi.
Rosetta Stone.
Arigato.
Rosetta Stone.
Rasengan.
God almighty. All right, well, we're done here.
Watch. Yeah. I guess keep a lookout on Twitter for Keanu's. Actually, no, it's already been announced anyways. Did he like do a shadow fist or something like the same way he did like with Idris Elba did with Knuckles?
No, I just saw it on the Discussing Film account that usually reports these announcements when they happen.
So
I don't know if I don't think he said anything.
Be excited.
Does he even do stuff on social media? Because if he doesn't, he's kind of
he doesn't. He definitely doesn't.
Based.
He doesn't at all.
Base. We
love you, Keanu. We love you that you're going to be playing Shadow.
No.
Shadowwick.
Maria. No, Maria, dude. Like I am the ultimate life form. Like, where's that damn Fourth Chaos Emerald, man? Where's that damn Fourth Chaos Emerald, bro?
Overall, if you guys are part of any of the communities we mentioned and you guys want to take a break, feel free to take a break. It's warranted. And if you are playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now, take that break.
And the moral of this episode is take a shower.
And take a shower.
All of you.
And
regardless if you're playing these games or not.
Think of...
Even if you don't do either, just take a shower. Go do it.
Just also imagine when you're in that shower, say Shadow the Hedgehog lines in Keanu's voice.
It will make you laugh. And your voice will sound different because the acoustics will be a little different because of all the steam and shit.
And on top of the really water, all just hitting on you and the porcelain.
Yeah. Bye. We're done. Plugs. Here we go. YouTube.com/Nintoonist. You can listen here. I know it's where most of you do.
You can find us on Keanu Reeves' Twitter, which he doesn't have at all, because that's the joke. Chaos Emerald.
Chaos Emerald.
Maria.
Like, I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me.
And our fans are the ultimate life forms. Like, yeah.
You're not even good enough to be my fake. Spotify.
Find me on the Space Colony Arc.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, not Google Podcasts anymore. I have to update the graphic because I forgot that I don't think Google Podcasts is there anymore. I mean, I'll check and they're slowly transitioning it out. We're done. Hope you all enjoyed. Give this episode more views than last week's because last week's was fucking dog water. I guess we can't talk about history. Y'all are just bored. You're all just bored about that.
Y'all are just uneducated as fuck too, I guess. You fucking idiots.
Maybe they just don't want to learn from you. Maybe they're like, this guy's the worst history teacher of all time.
And it's valid. No. It's totally valid. Doesn't change the fact that you guys are uneducated as fuck. Bye.
I hate this episode now. Bye.
Yeah, me too. Pieces of shit.